Is the camera on the DJI O3 Air unit as good as a GoPro Hero 11? If you've already got an O3 Air unit on your quad, do you even need to run an external camera? I'm going to give you guys some side-by-side footage and let you decide for yourself if you can tell a difference, and if so, if that difference is big enough to warrant the cost and weight of running an external GoPro on your FPV quad. For my testing platform, I'm using this GepRC Mark V that I just built up and reviewed on the channel, running a GoPro 11 Mini, and I have both cameras recording at identical camera settings. For the GoPro, I'm using these Camera Butter ND filters, and for the DJI camera, I'm using these ND filters from GepRC. As you're watching this footage so you can make your own informed decision, I'm going to give you some of the pros and cons that I've found using each of these camera systems as my main camera. What I love about the O3 system is that it's so convenient to set exposure and other camera settings right through the goggles before flight. My workflow with a GoPro is to use the app on my phone to check exposure, which works fine, but it's an extra step. It requires a phone, and sometimes the app won't connect unless you restart the camera. It's just one more detail to deal with. Checking exposure in your goggles is pretty nice. Another advantage to using an integrated FPV/camera system means that you're always monitoring exposure in real time. So if the sun comes out or it gets cloudy, you'll realize that right away, and you'll know that you need to change your ND filter or exposure settings. Whereas if you're running an external GoPro, it might be easy to forget to change your ND filter as conditions change. Another advantage of the O3 system is the ability to set the camera to start recording and stop recording when you arm and disarm the quad. With the GoPro, you're always going to end up with some unnecessary footage at the beginning and the end of each flight, and even though it sounds dumb, it's really easy to forget to hit record. I've done it before. So the ability to record automatically with the O3 system is a huge plus for me. By far the biggest advantage of filming with the O3 camera is that you're avoiding the cost and weight of an external GoPro. A GoPro weighs a lot. Even if you're using the GoPro bones, that's still a lot of weight that you could avoid, and your quad's going to fly better, and you're going to get longer flight times without an external camera. When I'm filming with a GoPro at a new location, I'll do a test flight to check my environment to see where I might lose signal before I actually strap the GoPro on, just to increase my confidence, since the moment I strap on a Hero 11, I might be doubling my risk if I were to lose my quad. There are still some major advantages to using a GoPro. First of all, the O3 system is prone to vibrations. Now, if your quad is tuned properly and you've changed the ESC settings to 48 kilohertz instead of 24 kilohertz, you're probably going to be fine. But those vibrations can creep into your footage, especially with certain setups, such as frames and camera mounts, which are not specifically designed for the O3 system. Also, if your props get worn, if your props are even the slightest bit bent, those vibrations can creep into your O3 footage in a way that wouldn't affect your GoPro footage. But the biggest reason to continue to use an external GoPro is image quality. The GoPro Hero 11 image is just better. The colors are more vibrant, the dynamic range is better, and the bit rate is higher. And don't forget, you have GoPro Labs, which gives you the option of using even higher bit rates and getting higher quality footage. The real shortcoming of the DJI O3 system for me is its dynamic range, which means you tend to lose a lot of details in the shadows, so it's absolutely critical that you get your exposure right. I've noticed that I'm consistently getting footage out of my O3 camera that's darker than what the goggles would have me believe it is. Now that could be because I tend to fly with my goggles set at maximum brightness, but I have turned off the image enhancement in the goggles to make sure I'm not receiving an artificially bright image. For whatever reason, my O3 footage is much better if I overexpose it by 1 or 2 stops than if I underexpose it. And in fact, if the O3 footage is underexposed even the slightest bit, it looks terrible. Another disadvantage of the O3 system is that you might want more cinematic settings with your HD camera and more true-to-life settings on your FPV feed. For example, I would normally want a more brightly exposed image in my FPV camera without any motion blur, whereas in my HD footage, I might want a more balanced image with motion blur. On bright sunny days, I think the O3 camera looks almost as good as a GoPro. But under cloudy conditions, the GoPro can produce a usable image where the O3 might not be able to. Let's put it this way. If I had to get a critical shot, such as at an event or somewhere where there's no chance of a do-over, I would expect better results on the GoPro than the DJI O3 camera, and I would still use an external GoPro where the quality of the shot really mattered. To sum it up, the O3 system is hugely convenient for FPV pilots. The slight trade-off in image quality over a GoPro is going to be worth it 90% of the time when you consider the simplicity, cost, and weight savings. And when I'm flying for fun or for casual filming, it's a no-brainer. I think the DJI O3 system is the way of the future. If the O3 system is this good, just imagine what GoPro is going to have to come up with to compete with the O4 system or whatever the next generation of FPV cameras is going to be called. All right, you guys, thanks a lot for watching. I'm also considering making a video about ND filters and how to get the best possible image out of the DJI O3 system. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, please leave a comment below so I can gauge how much interest there is in that topic. I'll see you in the next one.